Well, that's a tough question because it's hard to know exactly what are the goals of war. It really depends on this. One thing is for sure is that the primary target from a military perspective for Israel, which was to, let's say, get aerial dominance, which allow them to do whatever they want, basically, with their planes over Iran. This goal has been realized. So it means that for now, from now on, Israel will be able to do whatever it wants. Basically, if it wants to bomb something in Iran, it will be allowed to. So that, I think, that shifts a little bit probably what were the goals of war for Israel. Basically, I guess the primary goal was to, well, not maybe destroy, but at least hamper down as much as possible the nuclear program of Iran. This has been done, definitely. The program has been sent years backwards, that's for sure. It's hard to know exactly how many years backwards, but definitely it has been, especially with the strike yesterday on Fordo for the Americans. But so that was the basic facts. I think the other target was the military missile program. This one also has been hit hardly. So with two consequences. One, Iran is a little bit less capable of striking Israel back, first. Second, it has also a connection to the nuclear program in the sense that it will be also harder now for the Iranians if they manage to get back on their feet with the nuclear program to design a missile capable of having a nuclear warhead. So that was the main two things, and I think the Israelis have managed to do this. But the very question is, what about regime change? It's quite clear that the Israelis have been more than ambiguous on this. I think Netanyahu last Thursday said that he wanted to create the conditions for regime change. If this is really the aim, then we are in for the very long run, because you don't make regime change by only aerial strikes, or it has to take weeks and months and so on. So, and it would mean also that the Israelis would have to target every single piece of power in Iran, all over the country. For now, let's say the southern part and the eastern part of Iran haven't been hit hard, but it would be then hitting everywhere. And the thing is that it would be escalation from the Iranian perspective. What you have to understand is that basically for the Iranian regime and for every dictatorship, the main goal is to stay alive, basically. And so far, I think that the Iranians understood that they can't fight, let's say, one-on-one, military speaking, with the Israelis and the Americans. So they lost part of the missiles, they lost part of their leadership, they lost part of their nuclear program, but still the regime is alive, which is the most important. If Israel now says that its goal is to target every single piece of power in Iran, then the Iranian regime might feel really threatened to its core, and then it might go really wild in the Middle East. So this is really the wild card. Let's say the more ambitious, the more regime changing the goals will be for Israel, then the longer the war will take. I think that the strike yesterday on Fordo kind of closed the chapter, and now we're entering new waters. I would say that almost everybody was expecting this strike sooner or later from the Americans, because basically the Americans it was kind of I would say, easy but low-risk operation for the Americans from a military perspective, with a very high value, both politically inside the U.S. and also with regarding the world. So it was kind of I would say, 80% chance that the Americans would go. So now they are gone. They are gone in Fordo. They've destroyed part of it. And so I would say that, okay, it closed one chapter. Let's say the program has been set back years from the nuclear program, I mean. So what about now? Like I said, the Iranians could maybe go back into the discussions, although they say that they won't go back to negotiations, that they will strike whatever and make people pay the price. This is, to my mind, this is mostly rhetoric. What we have seen so far is that the Iranian regime did almost whatever it could to avoid huge escalation that would imply a direct strike by the Americans directly on the regime. So wait and see I'm not within the knowledge of what the Mullah tells within themselves. But definitely, I would say that it's not, like I said, if you want to survive, it's not in your interest to really strike against the Americans directly, because you know that the response will be really, really bad. So basically, I think that what we could see is, let's say, a mix of strikes against Israel, because let's say that it doesn't mean escalation. It's hard to say this maybe, but it's a little bit like business as usual. You know, you send missiles to Israel and Israel strikes back. But let's say it's not escalations towards the Americans. And it could also be that the Iranians think, okay, maybe we can go back to negotiations. We don't know what it will lead to, but at least, you know, it doesn't cost nothing to open negotiations. Even if it doesn't come to any result in the end, it costs nothing to enter negotiations, and hoping maybe that at some point Donald Trump will think, okay, well, enough of this, and I will go to another topic. A little bit like the Russians did, actually. The Russians said, yeah, we're open for negotiations on Ukraine. It lasted for 2-3 months, and then Donald Trump got bored because he didn't get any result, and he moved to another subject. So the Iranians could maybe think that they can do the same, like going into negotiations with the Americans, because, well, it costs nothing to talk, and then whatever happens. But I wouldn't expect the Iranians with these negotiations to, let's say, drop everything, drop their nuclear program, even the civil one, I mean, and also their ballistic capabilities. Right now, the regime doesn't have his wall of proxies, I would say. Hezbollah is kind of gone. Hamas is kind of gone. In Iraq, the PMF are standing still. So basically, the only retaliatory capability that the Iranian regime has is the missiles, or the drones a little bit, but it's more like the missiles, which is kind of the safety belt of the regime. So I don't expect them to drop everything down just like that, just to please the Americans, but at least they can enter into negotiations, hoping for better times. Regarding the nuclear program, I don't think you can destroy it just with missiles, to be honest. So basically, especially, there has been talks about striking Fordo for the last 2 weeks at least. It was expected, and I mean, the Iranians are not fooled. They prepared themselves for this strike. They knew that it was coming somehow, so they probably moved part of the technical material, part of the uranium, enriched uranium. They probably moved it somewhere else. Of course, these strikes. Well, first they destroyed the sites. That's one thing. They destroyed probably part of the equipments. So the enriching equipment has probably been partly destroyed. So I mean, there were like 3,000 enriching equipment in Fordo, 10,000 in Natanz. So it's probably that at least a half or 2/3 of them have been destroyed, because you can't move all of this equipment quickly. So it really, pushed the programs back years. I think more than 10 top scientists of the nuclear program have been killed. It's also so you kind of lose knowledge. But I mean, let's not be fooled. The nuclear program basically in Iran has been up for at least 40 years. First, it started a little bit with the Shah, and then afterwards, it came back after some years with the Mullahs. So there is capabilities, definitely, nuclear capabilities, and I think that you can't really destroy all this knowledge, all this experience just with missiles. You can really push back, definitely, by destroying equipments and stuff. But yeah, I mean, if the Iranian regime really want to go back to this program, it will at some point. It will have the capability to do so. The only caveat I see is that if they do that someday, now that their aerial defense is basically down, there is no more aerial defense. The Americans can come back anytime and destroy whatever new sites they would like to set up. So they can start again a nuclear program, but it will be really hard to hide it for a very long time before being struck back. So we could see this kind of back and forth if there is no agreement, I mean, on the nuclear program of Iran with the US and the Europeans. We could see this back and forth with having strikes maybe every 2 or 3 years on the nuclear program of Iran, a little bit like we had with Iraq. So when Iraq set up his program, then, well, it was destroyed and that's it. I really don't know. It really depends on the goals of war. If you are in for creating the conditions for regime change, then, of course, Khamenei is a legitimate target. I definitely believe that the Israelis have the capabilities to kill him. They did it with Nasrallah, I think. Khamenei is kind of, they are capable of hitting him. We could see how deeply into the regime the Mossad has been capable of going. So definitely they have a little bit of knowledge of the whereabouts of Khamenei. The very question is, what would it mean? It would mean definitely escalation, with the regime being really threatened to the core. And one other thing that I would like to point out is that killing Khamenei wouldn't mean the fall of the regime. Let's just keep that in mind. Basically, Khamenei is an old man. There was, before the war, already discussions within the Ayatollahs about who will be the next leader of the revolution in Iran. So there are already candidates to replace him, or he has appointed already some candidates. But what I mean is that people are preparing for his death sooner or later. And so there are already people who would be able to replace him. And most importantly, I think, apart from the Ayatollah and let's say the theocratic part of the regime, basically the whole economy of Iran has been captured by the Pasdaran. And this you can't destroy at all with the missiles. If the whole economy is, let's say, handled by part of the military, then it means that whoever is in charge, it really means that in the shadows, it's the army who is really ruling the country. And so this you can't destroy. Well, you can destroy if you go all in, like military invasion, like in Iraq in 2003. But with only missile strikes, impossible. So even taking out Khamenei would be, of course, a huge escalation, and maybe the Iranians could go really wild, destabilizing the Middle East. But it definitely wouldn't mean, to my mind, the fall of the regime. It could, but it's not, let's say, systematic consequences.